If you're looking for a very rural area within Palm Beach, Florida, South Florida, well, this is a video you're going to want to watch. This week we're going to examine what it's like living in Loxahatchee, Florida. My name is Ray Fernandez. I'm with Living in Palm Beach, Florida, powered by eXp Realty. Welcome. If this is your first time to our channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button there over in the corner. While you're at it, ring that bell. What that'll do is that'll help notify you each time we put out a new video. We put out new videos every single week. If you're wondering what it's like to eat, sleep, and drink here in this beautiful part of the world we call South Florida and Palm Beach, if that's the case, this channel is for you. My family and I relocated to here in South Florida about 16 years ago, and we haven't looked back. Today, we truly find an honor to help people, perhaps like you, do exactly the same thing. So if you're wondering what it's like to relocate to here to South Florida, if you have questions and you want to get answers to those questions from people who have actually done it, there's a few ways to get a hold of us. Down below is our email address. That's one great way. Also on the screen, you see our phone number. You can either call or text that number. Two great ways are in the description and in the comment section, there's a link. Click on that link. What that'll do is that'll help set up some time for us to speak, either through a phone call or through a Zoom, whichever way you feel most comfortable. In any case, we have your back when it comes to relocating to here to sunny South Florida. We've helped so many people relocate to here in Palm Beach, and we absolutely love it. So this week I'm going to go over an area that I haven't covered yet. Well, not directly. It's called Loxahatchee, Florida. We are going to, my sense is after we're done with this one, this is going to be living in Loxahatchee, Florida. At some point, we're going to do a video on the pros and cons of living in Loxahatchee, Florida. But here you're going to see a good overview of what it's like living in this not so well-known area called Loxahatchee. Go ahead, hit that like button there in the corner. What that'll do is that'll help get more and more people here into this video. It'll help get more and more people into this channel. It'll help us help more and more people, perhaps like you, move to this beautiful part of the world we call South Florida. So let's go over where it's located. It is sort of like central northern Palm Beach County. It's also very west. So this is a very, very rural area. Overall, the overall area was Loxahatchee. If you look at it on a map, you see Loxahatchee. You see the acreage, which are right next to each other. Lots of times people use those two communities basically interchangeable. In recent years, there's been changes to the map. There's Loxahatchee Groves. There's Westlake. There's more on that later. But in any event, if you're looking at and considering moving to a place that's very rural within South Florida, well, Loxahatchee might be a place that fits you. One of the big attractions when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida is, well, it's a non-HOA community. So we have a lot of people, especially from the north, who are not used to homeowners associations and the rules and regulations that they can impose upon you. And so they want nothing to do with it. And one of the areas they consider because of that is Loxahatchee. So there are lots of pros and cons when it comes to homeowners associations, what they do for you, what they don't do for you, the cost of them. They're all not necessarily created equal. Let me go over some of those points right now. If you live in a homeowners association, there's going to be a book of bylaws, so to speak. And these are rules and regulations of the community. It's going to tell you things such as you're not allowed to park commercial vehicles in your driveway. You're not allowed to have a boat, as an example, as well. So there are lots of things that they're going to tell you that you cannot do. So if you want to avoid having all that kind of stuff, those are the people that move to Loxahatchee. They look to avoid having an HOA. Also the cost. There's a cost to having an HOA. You could look at it from anywhere from about $100 to upwards of $700, the cost of HOA. Now, the difference between what a $100 HOA provides and a $700 HOA provides is very different. Lots of times the $700 HOAs are like 55 and older communities where they have a lifestyle directors and resort style amenities and clubhouse and all that. So that's the difference in that. But in terms of Loxahatchee specifically, there is no HOA. So one of the issues when it comes to that is that if your neighbor across the street is doing something you do not like let's say they started buying, a dozen chickens and they have them in their front yard, well, you're gonna have to live with that if you live in Loxahatchee. The other thing we see that people who move to Loxahatchee is that you'll see in their yard like a big bus or something like that. Lots of times it's also boats. As you know, and I've mentioned many times before in the past, Florida, South Florida, is the boating capital of the world. So you will see in people's driveways, and you will see huge garages in some of these properties in Loxahatchee, where they have a 35-foot boat that they keep on the property. So as opposed to keeping it and paying for dock fees and so forth, or high drying it in a marina, one of the benefits when it comes to living in Loxahatchee is you have room. If you have any such vehicle, whether it's an RV or a boat, you can do that in Loxahatchee, Florida. So the loose land restrictions also come at another sort of cost. So if your neighbor across the street, for whatever reason, is not mowing his lawn for, let's say, 2 months in the middle of the summer when everything's growing, you can't really complain about it. So that's one of the problems with that. If your neighbor next to you wants to paint his house a color you don't like, let's say yellow or pink or whatever it is, you can't really complain about it. So they have very loose regulations, which there's good and there's bad. The other thing about that is that you will see houses in Loxahatchee that you will see some that are huge mansions that maybe cost somewhere in the area of $1.5–2 million, big pieces of big homes, and then right next to it, a very modest home that might go for a couple $100,000. So you will see homes that are sort of like not uniform when it comes to Loxahatchee. So it's one of the things you need to get used to if you're considering and living in Loxahatchee, Florida. When we speak to clients that are looking to relocate to this area, one of the things that people have a hard time getting used to is, in general, in Florida, in South Florida, we have a lot of gated communities and we have a lot of smaller pieces of properties. Let's put it that way. I'm moving from New York 16 years ago. We had an acre of property, and we moved now to a community where we're living in a lot of, let's say, a quarter acre. That's what a lot of the properties here in South Florida have. But in Loxahatchee, you don't have that. Loxahatchee, lots of times, you can buy a piece of property, an acre, acre and a half, 5 acres. So the people who want lots of land, that's one of the places they look in Loxahatchee, Florida. You can buy the property and sit on it. So if you buy in a community, one of the master plan communities, let's say Arden, or let's say Westlake or Avenir, you can't just buy a lot of land and sit on it. In Loxahatchee, you can. So there's a couple of ways, if you're thinking about moving to Loxahatchee, there's a couple of ways that you can build and live there. First thing you want to do is buy your land. Now, not all parcels of land are created equal. Some of them are not cleared. So some are in better shape than others. Some are closer to being able to build a home on. So we here at Living in Palm Beach, Florida, we have a couple of builders out that way that we work with. The process in terms of building a custom home on a lot of your choice is very different. Reach out to our office. We'd love to help you and go through what that process is all about. So the process starts sort of this way. We will find a lot of land. Lots of land in the last couple of years, here we are in 2022, have gone up quite a lot. You can expect to pay for, if you're looking at about an acre, acre and a half, you can expect to pay about $150,000 just for the land. And then you're going to spend money to clear it. Remember too, that you have to also do certain things then if you have that lot that you don't need to do in other places. Such as an example, you will likely have to get well water, so you have to dig out a well. You have to put a septic tank in. So those are some of the things. So there is a lot of prep when it comes to getting a lot of land prepared for putting a custom home in Loxahatchee, Florida. Having said that, you can customize your home pretty much exactly how you want it. The prices of building those homes are not crazy. They're not, I mean, it's the more of the process and combining the land and the home, but you can pretty much customize your home in terms of how you want it. They do have models, these builders do, with ideas, but if you don't like the model exactly as shown, you have a lot of leeway in order to making it something that will fit you and your family. Now let me mention this. I mentioned more of the rural part of Loxahatchee. There's also the acreage, which is, again, they've used it sort of interchangeable, because they're right next to each other. But there are a couple of master plan communities that are in that area, one of which does have the Loxahatchee address. That first one is Arden. Arden is one of the most western communities in Palm Beach County. It is really far west, even from a very far west main road of State Road 7 or Route 441. That's one of the draws. It's one of the draws, and/or maybe not so draws to people. So you're a little bit out of the way. But if you live in Arden, you have a Loxahatchee address, and if you live in Arden, the amenities are killer. I've done a video on the pros and cons of living in Arden. If you're interested in learning more about that, reach out to our team, check out that video. But it is an interesting area. So if you buy a home in Arden, it is not like these other homes that we're talking about customizing on an acre of land. In Arden, you have it's a master plan community where you buy basically around a quarter-acre piece of property and you put your home on it. It's definitely, if you want the Loxahatchee address in a more formal HOA environment, Arden is one of the ways to consider doing that. So as things have developed in the area of Loxahatchee, it has been met with some resistance. As an example, there is a town there called Loxahatchee Groves, and they basically incorporated themselves as one of the newer cities, one of the newer towns, I should say, in Palm Beach, Florida. And what they did is they incorporated themselves in an area where they said, you know what, we are not into this, this fast-growing stuff that's going on in our area. We want to keep the integrity of being a rural community. So what they've done is they incorporated Loxahatchee Groves, and anyone that lives in Loxahatchee Groves, basically you should assume that you expect it to remain the way it is, which is rural and bigger parts of land. So the people who moved to Loxahatchee Groves and the people who live there now currently, that's exactly what they want to mind. That's their objective, is to keep it rural and the way it was in terms of like old Florida. One of the things that sort of sparked that whole Loxahatchee Groves movement was when Minto, the builder Minto, came in and they bought a lot of property in Loxahatchee, and they met resistance from some of the local residents who wanted to keep it very, old Florida, natural Florida. And so what they did was, what Minto did, the builder, is they incorporated what is today is the newest city in Florida, which is Westlake. Westlake, Florida is its own city. It used to be, that same area used to be Loxahatchee. It is very different. Westlake has their own city water and all that. It's a master plan community. In fact, it's the largest master plan community in the area here in Palm Beach. When all is said and done, when they're finished with the whole plan of Westlake, there will be about 4,000 homes. We have done many videos on Westlake. It is the fastest growing master plan community. In fact, within Living in Palm Beach, our company, we get probably asked more about the master plan community of Westlake than any other community here in Palm Beach and in South Florida. One of the things when it comes to moving to Westlake is the HOA, the Homeowners Association fee, is sort of on the modest side. That's one of the things they did keep in terms of the integrity, knowing that people that are moving out there are not big fans of HOAs. They do have a very lean HOA cost-wise, and thusly the services that it provides are also sort of lean as well. If you move to Westlake, it is going to look very different in 2 years from now, let's call it, than it does today. They're building a Westlake Town Center. They're bringing lots of stuff out there. In fact, the tax collector's office used to be in Royal Palm Beach and now is in Westlake. So that area is growing fast. So that area, Westlake, its own city, is very different than what we're talking about when it comes to Loxahatchee. The area of Loxahatchee is very rural, and it's almost like they're two distinct cities now, two distinct areas now. So I mentioned Royal Palm Beach. Royal Palm Beach, believe it or not, years ago, was pretty much like what Loxahatchee is today. But Royal Palm Beach, because its proximity to West Palm Beach and to Wellington. I did a video on living in sort of a map-ish video on Royal Palm Beach. Check it out if you have questions. And of course, reach out to our team if you have questions. But if you live in Loxahatchee, one of the closer areas is going to be Royal Palm Beach. There's lots of stuff there. The shopping there is growing. It's become sort of a suburb of Wellington. So if you live in Loxahatchee and you want to go out and go out to dinner or do things, go to the mall or the Wellington Green Mall, you're going to find yourself going to both Royal Palm Beach and Wellington quite a bit. Also, its proximity, Loxahatchee to Avenir, which is also interesting. Avenir is to the north of Loxahatchee. It is sort of still, but changing, a very rural area. Avenir is in western Palm Beach Gardens. It's got that Palm Beach Gardens name, which is there's a certain allure to that name. Avenir is a very high-end master plan community, and to get in there, it's going to cost you somewhere today in 2022. On the low end, $800,000. On the high end, several $1 million. But you are close. Loxahatchee is close to Avenir. So if you're into golf, as an example, Avenir is a big golf area. They have the Sandhill Crane golf course, which is a public course. They're building a golf course called Panther National, which is going to be a Jack Nicklaus signature course. So if you're into golf and that kind of stuff, you live in Loxahatchee, you probably will find yourself going to Avenir, just to the north of Loxahatchee. So when it comes to schools in Loxahatchee, there is only one high school right now. It's the Seminole Ridge High School. It's in the area of Westlake. One of the benefits, even if you don't like Westlake and what it represents, and you live in Loxahatchee, one of the benefits of the growth in Westlake is that they are bringing in more and more schools. And with that, I think the quality of the schools in the area is in fact increasing. So the more and more schools are coming in as people are moving to the area. It would not surprise me if sometime down the line, they get a second high school. But they also have elementary and middle schools there. If you reach out to our team, if you want to know what that looks like, there's Osceola as an example. Schools is probably one of the most asked about questions we receive at living in Palm Beach, Florida. So one thing I need to point out, and just to get your expectations, correct on this, thinking on this, is that it's again, I said it's a rural area out there in Loxahatchee. A lot of the roads are not paved. A lot of the roads have no sidewalks. So you have to sort of wrap your hands around that. If you have a nice car and you're driving through Loxahatchee, like a lot of the roads, more than 50% of the roads are dirt roads. And when I drive my car through Loxahatchee, I know when I come back, I need to get a car wash. That's just the way it is. There are some areas, if you want to move to Loxahatchee and you want a paved road, because there are some main roads through there, you can do that. So there is that option. But in general, you can expect a few things when it comes to living in Loxahatchee, Florida. You can expect in lots of places no sidewalks. You can expect in lots of places a dirt road, and you can expect lots of places to be no lights. So there will not be street lights when driving through Loxahatchee, Florida. We have had clients who have asked specifically about Loxahatchee. The clients that we have helped move into that area absolutely love it. It is not a community for everyone. It is Florida, and it does get a lot of all the same things that when we talk about the weather and everything else, it has all the same stuff as that. The storms out there can be pretty crazy because there's no buildings nearby. You can see the storms from a distance coming in on you, which is sort of cool actually. You can see the thunderstorms come in the summer. The people we know, that people that we've helped move to Loxahatchee absolutely love it. There's really no one I can think of that have bought out there and said, I absolutely hate it. They go in, people who buy in Loxahatchee, and this might be you too if you're considering it, you have to go in there with the expectation it's very rural living, whether it's Loxahatchee, whether it's the acreage. Again, the people who have bought in there and understand that and embrace it really do love living in Loxahatchee, Florida. Having said all this, because of the communities of Westlake and Arden, there are pockets of Loxahatchee that are growing, especially around Arden. That's going to, they want services in that area, so you're going to see more and more growth in that. Obviously Westlake, which is going to be a sort of a self-sufficient city. So in any event, if you're looking at that true rural building, reach out to our team. We'll help find the land that would make sense for you. The process to buy a home, in terms of a financing perspective, I need to mention this, is very different. You don't just take a mortgage out like you do a traditional loan. You will have to when we work with the builders, they go through the process rather specifically for you. But you have a loan that buys the land, you have a loan that's the home, and because these homes sometimes take somewhere in the area of 14 to 16 months, they can, depending on the size of your home. There's a whole different process when it comes to financing and buying your home in Loxahatchee. Palm Beach, Loxahatchee, paradise here in South Florida.